First thing you've heard someone do into a microphone? Not in that way, but because I think I listened to a podcast once where the guy was clearly just eating chips right at the start, like chips for God. Americans, right into the microphone.
And just crunching away.
When we're live, did that thing of like, oh, I know we're live, then did it louder into the microphone to be annoying, so he immediately turned off.
I was listening to a podcast not long ago where they spent the entire, hour and a half with one of them just, with the mic right near their mouth and just breathing into it the entire time.
Yeah, without, the pop filter or the...
yeah, and I was like, well, hopefully, they'll realise and mute themselves, or, the producer of it will, edit them out as they're breathing into the mic and not saying anything, and the entire time it's no.
Yeah.
I was only watching it on my TV while playing some Destiny and just had it on in the background. It was if this was into my headphones, I'd have turned it off immediately.
Yeah.
Cardinal sin.
It is indeed. Well, yes, welcome to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. One day I'll get that right, and on that day, we're no longer professionally unprofessional. We're professionally professional. I'll have to just hand in, my green screen and say, you don't need this anymore. You can do special effects. But yes, I am your host for this week, Karl Smallwood, joined as ever by the luscious and lovely Lucas Holland.
Hello there.
And this is the podcast where I didn't even take a sip of that then, one sec.
You just
I didn't even take a sip.
Carl's
doing
fake
sip.
Just the classic when you see on sitcoms where they're sipping out of the mug with nothing in it. And it's oh no.
Just the tiny hummingbird sip of the... when you see a guy who thinks he's rock hard drinking neat whiskey, who doesn't like neat whiskey, going... just taking the tiny hummingbird sips. Yes, this is the podcast where we scour the lengths and breadths of the internet for wikis on things we personally find interesting to see what kind of a discussion arises as a result. Mm-hmm. And you at home listening or watching live or watching after the fact can help influence the kind of content that we make by letting us know which wiki you thought won this week. And Lucas, what are the rules for which wiki won this week? I mean, what you expect, right?
The rules is kind of pretty simple. It's just all you need to do is go to our Discord and vote for which wiki won this week, and you've got to basically bear in mind which was the better discussion and not what was the topic that you prefer.
Yes, so it might not necessarily be a topic that you find altogether interesting, but the discussion that arises as a result of the topic might be. So vote with your, don't vote with your heart, vote with your brains, unless you like me more than Lucas, in which case vote for me. I want to win. Speaking of which, last week's winner, the duel between Kendrick Lamar and Hades, was won by Kendrick Lamar. So that was my wiki entry, which defeated Lucas's entry of Hades.
I like how you decided that it was just Kendrick Lamar because he's already just murdered Drake.
Well, Drake doesn't exist anymore. There's there's nuclear shadows you get when people get obliterated.
It's just the shadow left.
Yeah, an awe-inspiring weapon of war, beyond our comprehension and ability to even just fathom. Mm-hmm. That's what happened to Drake.
Oh god! And I also just noticed that I haven't turned my main light off, which is why I was why am I so lit up and shiny today? So I'm gonna go just turn off my light while you do the rest of the intro.
Well, yeah. Well, the rest of the intro is basically just if you are a fan of this kind of content, you can follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Also, if anyone noticing, if you've been watching this channel for a long time, first of all, well done you. You've got good taste in a big penis. You notice that I am in a slightly different setup. That's I've moved. And thankfully, the moving process was very painless, or at least more painless than I was led to believe, and the process of moving into and buying a house was. So this will be my setup for the foreseeable future. Some things may change, some things may not. It depends, if I want to shift stuff about.
Mm-hmm. And knowing Karl, that'll mean next week his layout will look completely different.
I've already moved some stuff off camera just to get some more lighting. Just for when we're recording at night or towards dusk. Just future-proof the concept and the idea of just make sure I've got a little bit of light off screen to just make sure my features are highlighted.
Of course, yeah.
And I guess the only other thing to mention would be, Lucas, what do I mention?
Well, we're live, so you've got to make sure that we do the likes and the super chats and all that jazz.
Oh, yeah. We'll answer questions and stuff as and when they pop up, and also super chats will get read out and stuff. Lucas went, you know what, if you want a better intro, do it next week.
And make sure to just give us a like while we're live, just to make it obvious to people who are watching. Makes us be seen by more.
But I hate doing all that, so I want to get into the meat and potatoes of the Wiki Weekdays form, and that is the wiki you brought this week. And Lucas, I saw the thumbnail, and I just very quickly ran out before the stream started and just watched the trailer for the new Assassin's Creed game.
Yes.
Presumably you're inspired by that?
I was indeed, and I myself watched the new trailer that just literally dropped today, and I went, well, I guess that kind of makes my mind up of what wiki we're talking about this week, doesn't it?
But that's the thing, there's a lot of things you could talk about in regards to Assassin's Creed. You could talk about a character from Assassin's Creed, you could talk about a concept from Assassin's Creed. Oh my god, that was the brightest wiki ever.
When you load up Wikipedia and you don't turn on the night mode yet, you're just like...
You could be talking about a concept from Assassin's Creed, you could be talking about one of the games, you could be talking about the development of one of the games, you could be talking about a game that doesn't exist, a cancel thing. So what specifically are you talking about in regards to the Assassin's Creed franchise?
I'm a tad quiet, apparently. Okay, I can move my mic a little bit closer, but I've turned down Karl a little bit as well, just to try and balance it out. But yes, I'm just bringing up, like, Assassin's Creed, the first game, because game, kind of got, shown off a while back. We'll find out which E3 it was, I'm sure, but came out in, like, 2007. It kind of made its own like niche in a genre. I don't want to say it made its own new genre, but it kind of felt like nothing else before it.
Yeah, that's why Assassin's Creed like popped off so much. And right away, Lucas, we need to decide if me and you are going to be friends for the next half an hour, 40 minutes. Okay. Do you like or dislike the future stuff?
I hate it.
I hate it too. It is the worst part of the franchise. I'm glad it's dead. But the problem is that essentially Assassin's Creed has created two fan bases. A fan base who want the super close to historical accuracy that they were creating, and the fans who like the OC future bullshit with all of like the Templars and magic and science bullshit in there. Yeah,
all of the Templar stuff I don't really care about, or like even back in the day with like the Apple of Eden and all that jazz.
Hate it.
I'm not interested in any of that, and it almost like ruined the franchise for me day one when it was like, oh yeah, cool, you're playing as like it was Altair in the first game, right?
Yep.
And you're going through this cool like semi-historical setting, but also with a fictional story overlaid into it. And
also as well, worth noting, historical setting that is not often seen in video games. Constantinople. Is it Constantinople, or is that another one? Or is it the Middle East? Generic Middle East?
No, I mean, we'll find out, won't we? Because we're talking about the first game, so the wiki will let us know. Because I was about to start guessing, and it's like, no, we've got the wiki here.
That's the benefits of the, the format. But yeah, it's an area of the world that's not often seen. When they released number 2, I went, ooh, okay, the future stuff's kind of lame. Well, this gimmick of every game, new setting... Same character, different. I like that.
Well, it was new character, new setting in Assassin's Creed 2, and I was like, you know what? Excellent. This is great.
That gimmick really worked. Then they released 3 fucking games set in Italy. And I was like, I'm done.
They released an Ezio trilogy, and I was like, oh, like, Brotherhood of Love.
They don't want to...
Revelations had 0 revelations apart from me realising I'm fucking done.
Yeah, the problem is, it's like... They really thought they had something with like Ezio, but they didn't. It just shows that they don't understand the game they made. They don't understand the appeal of the game they made. Like when they said the next game's going to be the continuation of his story, it's like, I don't care. Go to another part of the world.
And that's the strength of it, right? Is that after that they kind of realised, okay, we shouldn't have been so hot on Ezio. Now we're gonna. I think from that point with 3, they did do like. New character, new setting each time, apart from when they had, like, for example, Black Flag and Rogue. One was for the, like, next gen, one was for, like, 360, and they were kind of similar settings and gameplay, but with different stories and characters.
Yeah, and I did like number 3, and I think number 3 is where they had the chance to save it. Because in number 3, do you remember the DLC?
Because that was, like, the King George Washington DLC, right?
Yeah, and again... It just fractured the fan base even further, because all the Assassin's Creed games, when you kill someone, especially number 3, everyone you kill in Assassin's Creed 3, the person who you kill actually died around that point in history. Which is fun.
It's a fun way to do it, right? Of like, here, we're going to take notable deaths in that moment in history, but we're going to say, actually, without anyone realizing, it was the assassins all along.
You just never realized it was the assassins who did it all along. But then, frustratingly, it's like, okay, that's kind of cool, but a bit limiting. Then they had DLC where it's like, okay, fuck all that, King Washington.
Yeah.
What about if you play in an alternate universe where George Washington just betrayed America and became king, and it's your mission to assassinate George Washington? I went, this is it. If they do the alternate history nonsense, then I'm back in.
Also, for anyone watching live, apologies. I'd had to turn up Karl quite a bit for a stream we did the other day when he was joining on his phone. So that's probably why Karl's mic was really loud. I've just turned it down on my Discord. Apologies about that.
Yeah, that's why they almost got me back in. And they seem to have keep flitting between whether they want to stick to uber historically accurate or fuck it, like in the Spartan one. Oh, it's really true to like the history of the region. The DLC has like Minotaurs and Cerberus and stuff in it.
Yeah.
Then the Viking one, it's like, ooh, it's super historical. You can go to Doncaster as a Viking. Yay. Then the DLC puts in like fucking the Valkyries and shit. It's like, put the mystical weird bullshit in from day one, then I'll play it.
Yeah, and I kind of wish they would, because, I mean, I feel like they might feel like they're maybe putting themselves up against rough competition, because then they're almost more comparable to like a God of War game, but I feel as though they should just lean into it and become basically Assassin's Creed God of War games.
Here's the thing, they release one God of War game every 7 years. They release 7 Assassin's Creed games every year.
I mean, they have admittedly gotten better with it, right? It's like, we really had that moment of like, every year was 1 or 2 Assassin's Creed games and people got fucking bored of it.
Yeah, I think the exact moment I fell off was number 2. And I've never picked one up since. I think every 2 or 3 Assassin's Creed games, I'll pick it up.
Well, you did play quite a bit of Origins, right?
That was the one where I tried to get back in. You know, the exact moment I dropped off, I was like, okay, yeah, the Assassin's Creed games. What I'd do previously is I'd pick one up and go, it's Assassin's Creed. I'm not getting anything out of this. And the story's like really boring, and it keeps going back to the future, I don't care. Then Origins kind of got me. Because it felt like, there was enough finesse and enough new shit added where it felt like a fresh experience. I remember the exact moment I just uninstalled the entire game. It was do, your character steps out. I think that's enough time in the Animus for now. Like, that's enough time playing Assassin's Creed. Fuck off.
I remember, I think it was Black Flag, where you start the game and it's like, oh hey, you're working for like Abstergo as a QA tester. What we're going to do is you're going to put you in this Animus, you're going to go away and you're going to enjoy Black Flag. And that was like the only Abstergo stuff I saw in the entire game.
I really think they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Like, they've really shot themselves in the foot because they've got 2 audiences. They've got audiences who love that future stuff. They've got audiences who hate it. And they can't appease both. But they keep trying to.
That's the thing, is like, I think they would have been better off just like realizing how much of a mistake they made in the first one and gone like, look, we know some of you care about this, but we're cutting ties with the Abstergo future shit. We're just making it all about the like historical quote unquote side of things. And yeah, they may have pissed off like a small contingent of the fan base, but it would mean that it doesn't feel as broken up as it is at this point, where you're 20 games into the franchise and you're still trying to pull 2 different sides.
I also feel that the future stuff is really tenuously linked to the brand identity. So the average layperson, you say Assassin's Creed, it's like, oh, that's the game where you play as someone from history, right?
Yeah, that's the one where you run around as like the hooded guy and go assassinate people. Cool. Yeah.
The future stuff is only like what, the hardcore lore hounds give a shit about. That's not their primary audience. Their primary audience is like the other 90% of people. Like, I like running around in this historical location and stabbing people with my hidden blades. And
I will give a massive props to like the amount of detail they put in the games. Like even
absolutely, yeah,
going into like Assassin's Creed 2 and the Ezio trilogy, where it's like you take places like Venice and Rome, and they're like immaculately detailed.
Yeah, I remember when I went to Florence. And my friend wanted to go there because he'd seen it in Assassin's Creed. When we went there, he was like, this is really realistic. I remember, and he knew where we were going because he remembers it from Assassin's Creed. And I thought that I'd have to play as Ezio, and I played him for 1 game, and that was enough.
Karl, do you mind just trying to turn down your gain a little bit on your end as well?
Yeah, I've done that now.
No, it's all good. Like, I'd rather find out about like audio being bad towards the start of the podcast rather than people listen to like 2 hours of bad audio. As me and Karl were talking about earlier, of like, it's just if people don't realize and they've got to put through like a whole thing where like it sounds like Karl's just shouting at you through the mic. It's like that's not what you want to listen to.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process. It's a new setup. I have to like figure out like I'm a new distance away from my microphone. It's slightly different.
I mean, I feel like you could do with turning up a little bit. Maybe find a midpoint between where you were and what you are now.
Just like with Assassin's Creed, we'll never please everybody. But tell me more about Assassin's Creed 1. I'm interested to know how it came about.
Yeah.
Who do we blame the future shit on?
Okay, cool. Much better. Sounds good. So Assassin's Creed is a historical action-adventure video game series and media franchise published by Ubisoft and developed mainly by its studio, Ubisoft Montreal, using the game engine Anvil and its more advanced derivatives. It was there's going to be a lot of like names that I can't pronounce in this wiki, I'm sure. But
just say what they say at the start of each Assassin's Creed game, Lucas. The game is made by a collection of people from various ethnicities and faiths.
It is, yes.
Which I appreciate that, and I wish it wasn't Ubisoft saying it, because it comes across as so fucking hollow.
It does, yeah. Like, it comes across as like, you're not allowed to complain at us for anything, because like, lots of different people were involved in this, whereas I appreciate how diverse Ubisoft is, like, seemingly, as a company. They come across that way, but yeah.
That bit at the start, like, you hit the nail on the head, it comes across as you can't criticise it.
Yeah.
Whereas it's something like Senwa's Sacrifice, where I think one of the first lines, or the first credits is the mental health advisor.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is, yeah.
That does come across as quite sincere.
Yeah, whereas, like, it really does feel like it's big company going, like, look, this is not what Ubisoft believes, this is what the creatives believe, you're not allowed to sue us for anything kind of deal.
As we don't put women in the game, because it'd be too much modelling work.
Well, speaking of which, Karl,
yes.
I was quite impressed to see that they had a woman seemingly as the main character in the next new game.
I'm actually interested in that gameplay loop because they have the female ninja, or kunoichi, I think is the technical term. And then
obviously
the
playing as the assassin, they'll just probably call it an assassin, right? Yeah.
And I believe it's Yasuke, right?
Yusuke,
the historical figure,
I think,
who's a real guy who actually lived.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact about Yusuke is we don't... how do you pronounce it, sorry?
I think it's Yusuke.
Yusuke.
I think.
The fun fact about that guy is that no one knows where he went.
Oh, right.
And the idea that a 6.5 foot tall black man in like 1700s Japan disappeared.
And just rocked up as a samurai, killed a bunch of people, and just no one ever found out where they went.
Yeah, and some say he technically wasn't a samurai. He helped another samurai, but basically he was a ronin, technically, which is a masterless samurai.
Right, yes. Okay, yeah.
It's really fascinating story. I'm interested to see that. And the two gameplay styles you'll get from playing as a ninja, and then just the towering wall of muscle. Because he comes out, like, in the trailer, he comes out with a Kenobo, like the thing from, like, For Honor. It's what the Shinoki uses, like the giant fucking just baseball. But basically, just, what about if Japan made a baseball bat with a nail in it?
Also, better than Starlight with a $9.99 super chat there. Thank you very much.
That's very much appreciated, thank you.
Yeah, they say the fact that I think of the second or third games first of a 15-ish game franchise says a lot, I think. Cheers.
It's the most memorable stuff comes from those games, yes.
Yeah, literally, like, when I still talk to a lot of people that I know who liked Assassin's Creed, the ones that they always bring up are going to be either 2 Brotherhood or Black Flag, and it's like, that was like 10 plus years ago. Yeah, like, Black Flag is another one that I think stands out for many, and, you know, we've just got a sequel to Black Flag in Skull and Bones, was it? Yeah. Where they took out all of the fun and just went, here's your shit.
Again, they don't understand the franchise that they made. But yeah, I'm interested for the Japan setting. That was always the break glass in case of emergency.
Yes.
I don't trust Ubisoft I don't trust them to make the gameplay all that different unless they crib some stuff from For Honor, because that could be fun.
Yeah.
If they make it like For Honor combat, the 2 different characters, the 2 different playstyles.
That is true. I didn't think about the fact that they could take a bunch of the stuff that they've designed for Honor with all of the different, like, Eastern weapons and stuff that they used in those games. Like, by the end of that game, they had a wild variety of weapons and playstyles.
Yeah, and if they could put them all into that game with like all the different moves, that's the thing that made like Assassin's Creed kind of boring towards the end of. It's the Batman Arkham City problem, isn't it? Of like, ooh, you got all these fun, cool gadgets and weapons. Do I just press X? You just press X.
Yeah, it's like most of the time in Assassin's Creed, no matter what weapon you were using back in like, the Ezio days, it was stand there and wait to press the button to counter.
Yeah, but if they have like the more active involved system from For Honor for the combat, and they make it really meaty, really visceral, and then you can mix it up by switching to another character. You switch between like the big powerhouse character and the fast assassin character. They can have a lot of fun with that.
It's kind of almost like it's what we wanted from the is it like the Fry twins from the London-based game, but like
that's what I'm interested in. Yeah,
Evie and Jacob, and like I wanted their playstyles to be way more different than they actually ended up being.
They play identically, which means there's no mechanical difference between them. So it's based entirely on vibes, which means I'm always going to pick Evie because she's just got a cooler design. Whereas if they had different gameplay quirks, then maybe I would pick one or the other.
Also, yeah, Hero Infinity, you mentioned Ghost of Tsushima in chat, and like, yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Is that fans for years and years were like, do feudal Japan, and they had that in the back pocket at any point, and then Ghost of Tsushima got there first.
The thing is, they've got the ninja element now, so...
And, well,
Ghost of Tsushima's about a samurai. They've got the ninja element.
Well, it's not. It's about picking between being a ghost or a samurai, or both.
Oh, okay. You got both.
Yeah, so you do have both elements in there in Ghost of Tsushima as well. So, yeah, it's one of those of hopefully they will find cool, different ways to make it different enough that I care.
Especially if they double down on the stuff they've been introducing in later games, like the crazy bullshit. If they start putting like Oni and shit in that game, that could be interesting.
Which Ghost of Tsushima did in like its Legends DLC stuff. Yeah,
don't put the cool stuff in the DLC.
Yeah,
Ubisoft has such a problem with this. All of their DLCs are always way more interesting than the base game.
And like that's the thing is, yeah, Ghost of Tsushima had like I think it was like Ghost of Tsushima Legends, where it was an online multiplayer like spin-off free DLC bit where you go and fight all like the cool mythical shit and do like a raid at the end and everything. Yeah, so just all of it, Ghost is just like eating that dinner, eating that breakfast.
Hey, maybe people still hungry though.
Hopefully, yeah. Like
people
even
might still be hungry
to this day. Like I mean, Rise of the Ronin came out this year, and people were disappointed in that a little bit. So like, or a lot of people I saw were, because they still had the itch for that kind of setting, and then Shogun's come out as like a TV show that everyone's been talking about this year. So it still seems like there's a cool appetite for that feudal Japan setting.
The weebs will never be satisfied. They will never be satiated.
That's the thing, and I'm a massive One Piece fan, and they've just spent years doing a feudal Japan samurai story, and that, if anything, just makes me want more interpretations of it, not less.
Yeah. Well, I don't really hold much doubt it's going to grab me unless the combat is significantly different.
Well, the combat seems like it's been evolving quite well between like Origins into Odyssey into Valhalla. They seem to be doing quite well with the combat nowadays in those more like, those bigger RPG systems kind of Assassin's Creed. So hopefully they've got that juice there. And
I want to see it.
Hopefully as well, yeah, your idea of mentioning like all the playstyles from For Honor, with it also being a Ubisoft game, I'm going to be like a little bit mad if they don't have all that shit in there.
And then put all of like the environmental stuff in, all the stuff they complain about for the online as being unfair and cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Put all that in for a single player game. Like give me like spikes on the walls and kicking enemies into fire.
Yeah. And that's the thing, we talk about Ubisoft. Ubisoft has got many, many, many different like development studios across the world, but you would hope that they would be able to like cross over with one another, share those technologies, share the work and stuff that they've done on one game onto another.
Maybe.
You would hope that's kind of
Rabbids,
the strength. Yeah, they did put in Rabbids in Assassin's Creed, right?
In For Honor,
that was it. Yeah. They put like a April Fool's joke of Rabbids being in the game.
Yeah, there's also like Assassin's Creed stuff in For Honor.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
which is still going and is still fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And it says here, like the main developer was Ubisoft Montreal, but it does say also Ubisoft Sofia, Blue by Quebec, Bordeaux, then Gameloft, Kryptonite Games and Red Storm Entertainment. So that's what, like, 8 different development studios on the first Assassin's Creed.
Because they knew it was a good idea. And it was really funny. So, actually, no, I'll get to the development or like the reception, because there's a really funny story about the twist and how it got spoiled.
Well, I'll talk about just like the beginning here first, because, you know.
Where did the idea come from?
Exactly. So it's created by Patrice Désilets, Jade Raymond, and Corey May. The Assassin's Creed series depicts a fictional millennia-old struggle between the Order of Assassins, who fight for peace and free will, and the Knights Templar, who desire peace through order and control. And the Knights Templar are, like, based on the English Knights, right?
It's a real thing, yeah.
Yeah, like, that makes sense of the villain of the world being the British. That does.
Yeah. No notes.
No, accurate. No notes. It's accurate. Yeah.
They say it's a fictional struggle, but it's like it's the English versus people who don't want to be enslaved by the English. That's a very real struggle.
Yeah, and
which makes me think of all the other places they could have done a game. Like India could have been a great location for a game.
I think they did do that, but they did it as one of the weird spin-off games, right?
Ah, okay. So I would love to see the Indian weaponry.
Mm-hmm. That would be cool, yeah. And then the series features historical fiction, science fiction, boo, and fictional characters intertwined with real-world historical events and historical figures.
Would they make the science fiction stuff work if they ever just gave us a Desmond game where Desmond uses all of the abilities of every previous Assassin's Creed character, and then you give him future versions of all the weapons and skills?
I mean, yeah,
give him a robot suit and make him. Because I think you have a couple of Desmond sections where he starts to learn the assassin style, right? Yeah,
I was going to say, I think that the point was going to eventually be there was a Desmond game where you play as Desmond and you've learned the fighting styles and skills of multiple different assassins throughout time.
Well, they just never got around to it.
They just decided, look, we're getting enough backlash as it is for this shit. Let's not double down. The first Assassin's Creed game released in 2007, and it has featured 13 main installments in total, the most recent being Assassin's Creed Mirage in 2023, which was the throwback game that was almost akin to the first game in the series.
Yeah. Still my favourite Assassin's Creed. Still my favourite. I still like Altair better than any of the other antagonists. Maybe Connor. Maybe Connor for number
3. I did like Ezio when I first met Ezio. By the time the third game had rolled around, I was like, I can't be arsed with Ezio anymore, but I did like him as a character. And he did get to be besties with Leonardo da Vinci, which was pretty cool.
Exactly, yes.
So I was on the Assassin's Creed series wiki. I'll move over here to just for the first video game. And just check out maybe a bit of the plot. Oh god, the plot starts with bartender Desmond Miles in 2012. It's no, leave us alone.
The funniest bit is should I tell the story of how he got spoiled? Because it's really fucking funny.
Oh, wasn't it one of the voice actors?
And not even one of the good ones. It wasn't even one of the important people in the game. It was Danny Wallace.
Right.
So that prick.
I can't remember who Danny Wallace is.
Exactly. Yeah. He's an unfunny comedian. And he was one of the voices in the game. And when he was doing an interview about it, he spoiled the future twist. He's like, oh yeah, there's that bit in the future. And they're like, what do you mean in the future? Oh yeah, the game's set in the future. But all the because obviously he doesn't give a fuck about video games. He'd not seen any of the stuff related to the game he was working on.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of that. And it spoiled the twist.
Yeah, because it was one of those, they just had saved that as a bit of a mystery. Throughout the game, you'll just be playing as Altair and you'll see all, the future stuff, in the loading screens and stuff, but then it's only a couple of hours in after the kind of the first big main intro when Desmond then comes back out and it's time to take a bit of a break. And you're like, wait, what?
What's going on here? Yeah, and Danny Wallace spoiled it immediately. Just fucking sucks, man. When you're working that hard on something, it's spoiled like that.
Oh god. I'm trying to read here of where the setting is for the first game. I can't actually. Oh, okay. It's set in a fictional history of real world events taking place during the Third Crusade in the Holy Land in 1191. So it just says like in the Holy Land, which I guess would be like, you know, based around like Jerusalem and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of setting, but it doesn't specifically say here.
That's before they were like, we want to do it in a specific area.
Okay, yeah. So it's roughly located between the Mediterranean Sea and the eastern bank of the Jordan River. Traditionally synonymous both with the biblical land of Israel and with the region of Palestine. So yeah, it's
Don't click those blue links.
No, I'm not going into that right now. But yes, that is, for anyone curious, that is where the first game is set, and maybe it wouldn't have been the best like setting for what's currently going on in world events, but at the time, a very cool thing, and as you say, like a very unexplored setting for most video games, or at least big budget video games.
Now I think about it as well, like, it is kind of wild that just, 15 years ago, we got a game where it's about like a long-standing conflict in that region that will see no end, and it's about you, the made-up OC of the universe, going in and solving it.
Mm-hmm. It is kind of it's kind of a weird place with like when video games trying to insert themselves into history of like, yeah,
like real
I
things
see
that actually happened.
Yeah, I see the fun side of it if you're able to just like suspension of disbelief. Hey, here's some cool historical figures, and actually it was the assassins all along. But like,
yeah, the assassins who did it.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely one of those of like, for, you know, as you say, like that now holds up as like looking a bit weird in current world events of like, ooh, Altair like going and solving all these problems.
Also, as well, the fact it's Ubisoft, and keep in mind that Ubisoft went on record as saying there's nothing political in their games that they're making, which included Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs. What was that like shitty Tom Clancy shooter they did in like the city? What was that one?
In this, what? God,
in the future city.
You're asking me to remember fucking Ubisoft games. They're like the most forgettable shit.
It's that one where you're in a city and you got to shoot people, which is not really like narrowing it down for.
No, I'm thinking there's Watch Dogs. That's Watch Dogs, right?
There's another one that they did. It's not Watch Dogs. Come on, someone help us.
Oh my god, like, chat, help Karl, because like...
Ubisoft shooter, let's have a look.
There's like there's the Ghost
the
Recon.
Division. There it is, the
Division, yes.
So,
yes.
They said the Division is not trying to make a political statement, and in the Division 2, one of like the enemy factions is sanitation workers who've gone insane and formed their own union. Who are like enforcing their will upon the populace, and you as the good guy, I'm using big air quotes, people listening at home, have to go in and shoot them in the back of the head.
Yeah,
to take out the union, because the union is really, really bad, and they're bad for the population, Lucas. The unions are bad for the people. They're not serving the public trust.
And like, as Hero mentions in chat, just like the second one takes place in Washington, D.C., and I'm pretty sure the box art has like the White House or the Capitol building or something on in the background, and it's like, we're not saying anything political, though. That's what really pisses me off about Ubisoft, is like
they
the corporateness of like every opinion expressed in this is like completely, you know, apolitical. We're not trying to say anything about any type of politics or religion or anything. Anything said by this game has zero merit because we're not willing to stand by it.
Yeah, which just makes it all ring super hollow.
Yeah. And I'm sure the creatives behind that probably have statements they want to make with it all. But then the problem is that they've got that corporate backing of Ubisoft being like, no, none of this matters. It means nothing.
Also, as well, they make all like the Tom Clancy games, which are about playing as like effectively paramilitary black ops, doing wet work in foreign countries on foreign soil, where you just commit war crimes on the reg.
Yep, basically.
Cool.
I do like to just scroll through voice acting, and it's like, oh yeah, Kristen Bell was like one of the she was like one of the future people as well.
No, Lucas, she got a paycheck. That's what Kristen Bell. She got a paycheck.
It's just weird because obviously Kristen Bell like in fucking Frozen and shit nowadays, but back in the day just was doing odd jobs like this. So every now and you see her like pop up on a really small project, it's like, oh yeah, she was in Assassin's Creed.
Of course she was, yeah. Why not? Let's go.
But I wonder, reception here, Karl. Okay, this actually got a slightly better reception than I remembered.
I think it was just genuinely an interesting concept.
It was a really interesting concept, and I remember at the time it being like, oh wow, this game feels really fresh and new. Not something that Ubisoft is exactly known for. But it was, oh hey, here's Jade Raymond on stage introducing her new game, like Assassin's Creed, look at all this parkour and stealth, and like, wow, this looks awesome. And then when the reviews hit, it was more like, yeah, a lot of it is like kind of pretty slow follow me missions where like you've got to stealth behind a character awkwardly and then go and assassinate them, and there's a lot of padding in it and stuff.
So much padding.
But
collect the feathers, Lucas.
No, that was Assassin's Creed 2, I think.
That's where the padding got to its extreme, man. That's just Ubisoft.
I mean, that's not even touching it, Karl. I remember playing Black Flag, and every time you unlocked one of the towers, and just seeing the fucking every corner of every street and every little like nook and cranny had a symbol on it. I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. The only things I ever went with Black Flag collectible wise, always go and find like the musical pages that fly away because they unlock sea shanties. Yep. But other than that, fuck that. I just saw all those different little symbols on the map for like the 40 collectibles they had and just gave up.
Just went, fuck this.
But yeah, it does say here that Assassin's Creed received generally favourable reviews from critics. According to Metacritic, the game has a Metacritic of 81 on the PS3 and 360 and 79 on PC. So just aggregate of reviews of like, yeah, everyone thought it was a pretty solid 8 out of 10 when it came out.
Can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Deserved.
Yeah, and it says here, some notable ones were Famitsu ordered the 360 version of Assassin's Creed a 36, all 4 scores getting a 9 out of 10. And then the PlayStation 3 version of 37 with a 10, 8, 9, 10 out of 40. If anyone doesn't know, Famitsu have 4 people review each game, so each of them give their own score out of 10, and then it's added up to something out of 40. So yeah, everyone gave it at least an 8 out of 10 when they reviewed it in Famitsu, and they positively cited the story, presentation, and acrobatics, while criticising the one-button combat, map layout, and camera problems.
Oh, little did they know, that would become the staple of action games for the next however many years it's been.
And that is kind of the biggest problem with both Assassin's Creed as a game and franchise going forward, and kind of also the Arkham games, is between those two.
Arkham. Yep.
That combat style really got solidified for a while, and like, even to this day where you play Spider-Man 2 and it's still based on the original kind of ideas behind combat from Batman Arkham games.
And you get all the benefits and all the positives, but also all the negatives, because that combat system has a lot of flaws and a lot of shortcomings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one of those of, I'm not criticizing Spider-Man 2. It takes that format and does it very, very well. And there's a lot of different options in combat. But if you take the general idea of like the X is the light attack, then the B is the dodge, and A is jump, and Y is counter, and whatever. Like, I'm, obviously talking like Xbox controls there, but whatever. It's just generally speaking, the like foundation of that combat is still the same as the foundations of the Arkham combat.
And I'd like to see some, variation on it, which is why I'd be if they put in the For Honor system. The For Honor system is genuinely fantastic.
Yeah, the problem I've got with playing For Honor is the people that play For Honor, not...
Oh yeah, like people who play For Honor are insufferable.
Every time you do anything that's not like the correct way to play the game, you just get fucking messages off them. Yep.
I'll never forget, like, I went into a match after, a couple of years not playing. It's like, oh cool, there's always new characters. Oh, there's this big Chinese dude who's like, his counter is he just slaps people on the face. I'll play as this dude. I'll play as Uncle Iroh and just slap some fools. Specifically got to the edge of a cliff, countered the guy, and just slapped him in the back of the hand, and he fell off. Got a message off him of just like, that's not playing honourably. I'm like, it's called for honour, not with honour.
Yeah.
And every time I stream the game and someone will say that's not the right way to play, I just talk about how the knights used to specifically cut holes into their like palisades and their walls. They could pour boiling oil onto people trying to break in below.
Oh.
And how the Vikings would cut people's limbs off and take their swords, and how the samurai would walk around cutting peasants apart for sport. It's like, none of these people had any honour. They only had honour within the very specific, archaic to us way they looked at what honour was.
Yeah, and like, it's just one of those of, it's a video game, get over it. I'm going to play how to win. Like, boiling oil was not used as a defense mechanism for castles. Well, I mean, like, that's one of those things of...
Every tour of a castle I've ever been on then.
Yeah, I mean...
When they point out the holes in the castle, and they tell you that's where they used to pour it out.
And even if it's not true, the point of the matter still stands of, like, these people didn't fight with honour. These people fought to kill the opponents.
They did, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think the knight on the battlefield was like worrying about honour when he was like, when they specifically invented a dagger to stab people through the chest plate here when they were stuck in mud? Do you think they cared about that? Do you think that's honourable? Going up and stabbing someone who can't move? No? Or did you win? You won.
And I do think this says a lot here, Karl.
Yes.
So, just to finish things off, this section might tell you why we're still getting an Assassin's Creed game trailer today.
It's easily made like $1 billion.
Sales for Assassin's Creed was said by the publisher to have greatly outstripped their expectations. In the United Kingdom, Assassin's Creed debuted at number 1, knocking Infinity Ward's Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare from the top.
It did come out around that time, didn't it?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Like, it released and it knocked Modern Warfare off the top of the charts in the UK. And I think that says enough of just, yeah, like, let's sign this up for the franchise deal immediately. Just Jesus Christ, I wasn't aware of that. But yeah, the game, the majority of the game sales were on the 360, which claimed 67% of the game's total sales. The 360 and PS3 releases of Assassin's Creed each received a Platinum Sales Award from the Entertainment and Leisure Software Publishers Association, indicating sales of at least 300,000 copies per version in the UK. And in 2009, Ubisoft revealed the game had sold 8 million copies. So it sold 8 million copies in the first year and a half of release for a brand new, like, big budget franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty damn impressive, yeah.
Just did some double checking here. Found a couple of sources that talk about the boiling oil thing. It's probably exaggerated because oil was a very valuable commodity. However, all manner of things were thrown through parapets, or murder holes, as they were colloquially known, such as hot sand, rocks, excrement, just anything slippery, like oil, and in some cases, in some specific parts of the world, boiling oil, because it was, believe it or not, very effective against people in full plate mail. So a number of things were poured through, So
yeah, bit of clarification there, but yeah.
Boiling oil is more like a generalisation of just, but anything just that you don't want dropping on you from a very tall height.
Yeah.
Because you know what? It's all's fair in love and war.
And that's the thing, isn't it? That definitely, like, proves the point of they didn't really give a shit what they were putting on you as long as it did some horrible thing to you.
Yeah. I'll never forget, it's the most famous example of that is the guy who built all of his castles the wrong way around. You hear about that guy? It's like every knight fought with like one like right-handed. So when you were going upstairs,
the spiral staircases,
the spiral staircase that spiraled right, as was tradition, benefited the attacker because you could swing around the staircase, whereas the defender couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they were swinging with their right hand, turn around, they were facing like into the inside of the thing. So he built all of his left the other way around and taught all his men to fight left-handed. So when soldiers would go up, they'd have to fight left-handed and be at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really clever. It's just, oh man.
It's not honourable though, is it?
I mean, that's the thing is, the people who fought honourably probably died and didn't have a story to tell. Yeah, it's
always the way.
It's always funny when you see that kind of stuff, but just like, yeah, just the idea of getting messages, and it happened to me as well. When every time you'd be like, "Look, For Honor's really good. Like, let's play some For Honor online." And I'd just go in and, like, I had no idea of how to play the game, what character classes were best, and I'd either get told, like, get sent an angry message of, like, that was not the right way to play, or I'd get sent a message, you're using a shit character. Like, why you, like, from my own teammates of, like, you're using the wrong character. It's like, I was trying to have fun.
It's like people giving you shit for ganking, it's like, we won that. It's like, do you know what's really hard to defend against? 2 people. It's even harder, 3 people.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you'll see people having, like, the one-on-one fight and then get angry that someone just came and stabbed them in the back. It's like, that's exactly what would happen on a battlefield.
There is nothing fucking funnier than when you see 2 people battling, running up and just tackling someone into the water, thrusting like a madman and running away. And you know what? It's happened to me, and it's still funny the other end.
Yes, this is live, and for just a reminder for all those who are watching live, if you don't mind giving us a like if you're enjoying it, it just lets more people know and see that we are currently live.
Yeah, play that game. Give us a like for having no honour.
For having 0 honour.
I have no honour, mate. Do you know what? Fuck you, no honour. I win.
And Karl,
history, like this thing is about every fucking quote about warfare that is like survived and stood the test of time is about being a dickhead. Like, almost every one of, like, Sun Tzu's famous sayings is stuff like, people don't like being on fire, you should probably take advantage of that. It's like, oh, shit like that, right?
Oh, dear. I think that's a good place to leave it there for the Assassin's Creed talk, anyway.
Yeah. Have no honour.
Have 0 honour, and yes, I'm excited for the concept of the feudal Japan game. The trailer did look good. Ubisoft have got a lot of proving to do when it comes to making like me get back into the franchise at this point.
They've not got the best track record of delivering what trailers promise.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes, but first impressions, very good. Very good indeed. And Karl, do you need to take a quick break, or are we good to just go straight into housekeeping? Yeah, I even gave a little hint to what my thing's about. Oh, exciting. And I mean, just before we go into that then, Karl, have you got anything that you'd like to mention or plug before your wiki?
I do, yes. So, because I'm all settled in my new place, anyone watching this or listening to this within a day of release who is a fan of our previous project, Fact Fiend, you can check me out tomorrow from about 8 PM on my Twitch channel, which will be linked below, going through an old video and giving like commentary on it, as well as like behind the scenes facts, additional stories about how it came to be, and just generally answering questions about the production and time we spent on Fact Fiend. That's going to be a thing I'm probably going to do like once a month. Maybe I don't want to do it too much because it's not really something I see holding attention if I do it all the time, but I feel that just once a month, just sit down and go through old or, important videos. So the video I'll be doing tomorrow will be my favourite video. So if you ever wondered what is my favourite Fact Fiend video, I'll be going through it tomorrow and commentating on it and giving behind-the-scenes stories, extra information, context, that sort of thing. Yeah, for anyone wondering, that will just be a Karl stream. It's not going to be any of the like other people involved or anything. Like, I'm not going to be there, but I was thinking of doing the same thing on like a similar kind of, semi-regular basis of just maybe do a couple for Wiki Weekends as well. Go through the old like Wiki Weekends archives and do a similar kind of thing with that. Sign NDA for that. Yeah, so I own those now. So, of course, yes, I'll have to sign, like, non-disparagement clause, right? Of just, like... Just going like, oh, this video here, Karl's a right knobhead during filming. That'll be tomorrow, and then the day afterwards, Friday night, I'll be streaming Metal Gear Rising Revengeance on the same link you can find. Excellent. And that is, twitch.tv/Karlswood, you say, yeah? I did indeed, yes. Yeah, sorry, I realised I prompted you while you were in the middle of drinking then, sorry. That's the waiter in Leo, isn't it? That's the person who used to work in a restaurant. Like, as soon as you see that the glass go to the lips, oh, was your meal okay, sir? I always loved it when you'd see people taking, like, a big bite out of, like, a burger or a wrap, and then quickly just, like, bounce into that table as they've just taken the bite and be, everything okay with your meal? And just watching them struggle, like, oh no! And, like, obviously... It's just I wasn't doing it all the time to be a dick. It's just like a fun, jokey thing to brighten up your day when you're on like a fucking 12-hour all-day shift in a restaurant. It's like, we're not trying to be mean. It's just a little bit of things to brighten up your day. Stuff you do for fun, yeah?
No one's ever like died from that. Don't worry. Not by me anyway.
Yeah. You've never personally killed anybody, so it's fine.
Exactly, yes. Well, not in the restaurant anyway.
Yeah. What would you like to plug, Lucas?
I'll just do my usual plug of like twitch.tv/Legend of Kanto, where if you're interested in watching me play some games, then I'm over there, and Karl is joining me every now and then. Like, for example, on Mondays right now, we are doing Mass Effect 3 for Mass Effect Mondays. We've reached my sub goal for that, and we've done one episode so far, and that is like around 10 o'clock UK time on Mondays. Karl and I have now going through Mass Effect 3, where Karl has not played any of the DLC for, so I'm excited to get to that point as well.
But if people think we talk too much in these podcasts, you wait till you see us play Mass Effect. every line of dialogue is preceded by 10 minutes of conversation, breaking down why the person we're talking to is an arsehole.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much get through like one mission every stream because we spend most of the mission stood in a dialogue option going like, off on tangents as we always do, and it's one of those of I would like to think that there's plenty of personality, not just the game, involved in that case. But yes, I'll also be doing my Tunic Tuesdays, which is Legend of Zelda games, and then I'm doing Pokemon stuff on Thunder Badge Thursdays, all around the same times. And you know, I'm trying to get into competitive Pokemon, so if anyone's interested in that, I'm doing like streams where I battle chat and stuff like that. So, you know, get proper deep down and nerdy into the competitive side of things.
Fair.
Yeah.
Is it fair to rock up to a battle with 3 Arceuses? Who cares?
Oh dear. But yeah, that's all I've got to plug on my side anyway.
Okay.
Karl, lead us in with your wiki.
Okay, so I've gone for something slightly different. As mentioned, I did give us a bit of a hint towards the end of the conversation about Assassin's Creed, and it does kind of link up with Assassin's Creed. So, we're going to talk about some quotes today, Lucas. Specifically, quotes of the Spartans.
Oh, okay.
So this is a wiki entry simply titled Sayings of the Spartans. As with all the wikis we cover, it's not necessarily a wiki, but it's like a website with just a list of things. I think they're quite interesting. There'll be a link below. And many years ago, speaking of Fact Fiend as well, we did a video on how all of the coolest lines in 300 were based on real things that the people in the film actually said in real life.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like King Leonidas did actually say, "Come and take them," when they asked them to lay down their weapons. But he said it in Greek, obviously. Likewise, he also said, "This is Sparta." No, that's a lie. That's the one thing he didn't say. What he actually said was even cooler. Of Joe and the guy, he's like, remember the scene right when he kicks him into the well?
Of course, yeah. The thing that was memed upon a million times, yeah.
We get some feedback on this, like, because in the film we say this is Sparta and kicks the guy into the well. In real life, according to historians and surviving accounts, when Xerxes' guy rocked up and went, "Okay, we demand a tribute of land and dirt and water, essentially land. We want some of your land, which includes your rivers and stuff."
Yes.
King Leonidas is said to have said, "Get it yourself," and kick the guy into a well. So he actually did kick a guy into a well. He just didn't say, "This is Sparta." He said something way cooler, I think, of "dig it out for yourself."
I will say, terrible thing to do. As we've learned from like The Walking Dead,
the Spartans.
Having a dead guy in your well and therefore contaminating your water supply, not a good idea.
Probably not, no. And again, some of this stuff might not be entirely accurate, because this is from many hundreds, if not thousands of years ago.
And I will say...
take everything about to say with a pinch of salt. I should clarify that first. We've already had one person correcting us on a historical factoid, because it wasn't entirely accurate.
Yes, but I will say, watching that movie again, when you find out that like the story of 300 is being told by one of the soldiers who like got away, and it's
all the crazy bullshit makes sense, right?
Well, it's a narrative retelling, but it's like, A, how did you know about like the conversations that they had in the tent when you weren't there?
Yeah.
And B, like, did you really need to like leave all the bits in with like his wife getting harassed in the city and stuff? Like, did you need to leave those details in? Like, really?
That also led to a real quote as well.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
In the movie, it gets butchered as well, because Zack Snyder has a weird relationship with women.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck it, we'll talk about that another day.
Okay, yeah.
You know, he talks about he's a very progressive individual, but the language of his movie doesn't always give it across. But in the movie, when Queen Gorgo, like the wife of King Leonidas, like spits like that venom at that the same guy gets kicked into the well.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, what gives this woman permission to speak? She responds like, you know, only Spartan women give birth to real men.
Mm-hmm.
In real life, that quote was supposedly said not to a guy giving a shit, but another woman in a neighbouring state in Greece.
Oh.
And this woman saw Queen Gorgo walking with her guard and was astounded that a woman was being held in such high esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And they approached the Queen. Obviously, her Spartan guard were like, what's this woman doing approaching us? Like, the Queen let the peasant woman pass. And they asked the Queen simply, why do Spartan women lead men? Queen Gorgo is said to have responded, because women give birth to men. Effectively saying, like, we deserve to be held in equal, if not higher esteem, because the men who would put you down would not exist without us. Mm-hmm. Well, that's like but in the movie, she just says it, and then King Leonidas has to step in and protect her honor, when she didn't need her honor protecting.
Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, Spartan men are great, but Spartan men couldn't exist without Spartan women.
Yeah, and that's like the historical, but that's a real quote, it was just said in a different context. But before we get on to the sayings of the Spartans, Lucas, there's a lot of them. They were well known for their use of laconic phrase, which is essentially just
Karl has gone.
As all hell.
Oh, hang on, Karl, you're on robot
very
style.
Wry, very witty, more
We've
so
got
than you might
Robo Karl in
expect
base.
for, you know, given the historical reputation of the Spartans.
We lost you there for a minute, Karl.
Okay. Well, the line will still be in the edit, I suppose. But
it'll only be in the audio version, so if you could repeat that for us.
I mentioned, you know, once again, a lot of these phrases are known as being examples of laconic phrase, which the Spartans were exceptional users of. And laconic phrase is essentially being sarcastic. So a lot of these quotes will seem oddly witty, especially given the historical reputation of Spartans as like warriors and meatheads, thanks to Zack Snyder. But that was kind of their whole deal. Spartans greatly appreciated wit, and specifically short, concise answers, which I think the best modern example of that would be Kratos. Like, you know, think about how unintentionally funny Kratos is in the Ragnarok games when he's interacting with people, because he just gives these short, to the point answers that are sometimes quite witty. Like when, like, oh, what happened to all the armor from the previous game? We used it.
Yeah, I like that. Just how to explain just the classic like Metroid effect of well, you had all these upgrades in the last game. Where have they gone? And Kratos is like, we used it all in training, mate. It's armor, it's weapons, it broke.
And that's like, you know, very true to what the Spartans would actually be like in, you know, when they were communicating. Like very short and to the point, and also very witty. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly so, which is something the Spartans greatly enjoyed. That, you know, their reputation as fearsome warriors often belied. Very, you know, just witty and observant and emotionally intelligent people. Because they, you know, treasured culture as well as they treasured culture and art as much as they treasured the prowess on the battlefield. But do you have any favourite quotes, like, you know, not necessarily from Spartans, but just any that you've, like, you know, just held on to, or that stick out in your mind as being particularly poignant or applicable to your life?
I mean, like, there's always one that not related to like Walrus Spartans or anything in any way.
Okay, it's an interesting question though.
One quote I just always remember is "Comparison is the thief of joy," and it's just
one. Do you know who said that?
I can't remember who said it. I've had it just like wheeled down to me by many other people, and just like I can't. I'll give it a quick Google in a minute.
Double check while I go through a couple of the examples. Yes,
but yeah,
you don't have to do it right now, but
I always like the idea of like, well, the whole point is just don't compare yourself to others, because all that you'll find is sadness, because there'll always be someone better or more successful than you to compare yourself to.
Like, grass is always greener, another great quote. Mm-hmm. And, like, you know, not that all these things, like, you know, it's like Sun Tzu as well. I mentioned Sun Tzu. Like, a lot of his quotes, people interpret them or apply them to everyday life or business a lot of times. And I think Sun Tzu is one of those figures where they've probably got there's a lot more weight attached to what they said than is probably deserved, given that if you actually read Art of War, 90% of it is about, like, make sure you've got enough grain for your horses. Horses are really fucking important. Make sure you feed your horses. Because a lot of people reading it didn't realise you need to feed people.
Oh, no.
You can't just whip people to make them go further.
I'm still okay to be live, but...
Oh no, my camera...
We've just lost Karl in the Discord void. So, apologies about that, but hopefully he pops back in a second. Yeah, This is what happens when we record live, unfortunately, but...
Oh, did it cut out for a second there?
Yeah, we lost you for a good, 30 plus seconds, and I did just give a quick Google, and apparently the comparison as a thief of joy can be attributed to Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay, well, I apologise for that, still teething problems with my new setup. So, should we just jump straight to the quotes?
We should indeed, yeah. It's just Discord apparently struggling at the moment, so let's get straight into it.
So these quotes are in alphabetical order, and I do apologise for any pronunciation issues. I'll hopefully pronounce them as correctly as I'm able to. So, already right away, right at the start, we have there's an entire separate page for one of the guys.
Okay.
Great king of Sparta, Agesilaus. So we'll just go for one of his quotes. And he says here that Agesilaus the Great was once chosen by lot to be master of ceremonies at an evening party. When he was asked if he was asked by the slave who poured the wine how much wine he should serve to each man, Agesilaus responded, "If much wine had been provided, as much as each one asks for, but if only a little, then give to all equally." That's just a summation of his character and just fortitude as a leader.
Yeah, exactly. Of just the idea that if we haven't got enough for everyone to enjoy it, then make sure everyone's treated as an equal.
Yep.
Just, a nice way to treat everyone.
Here, Agis, son of Archidamus. Once upon a time, the Ephor said to Agis, the son of Archidamus, "Take the young men and march against the country of this man here. He himself will guide you to its citadel." "And how, sir," said Agis, "is it right to entrust so many youths to a man who's betraying his own country?"
I mean, is it a betrayal of the country?
So maybe it had to be there. Not
Maybe,
all of them are going to be. Not all of them are going to be bangers.
Yeah.
He was said to have once quoted. I apologize. I'm going to have cough here.
Go for it, Karl. Just make sure you're muted. Other than
I did, yes.
Yes. Other things mentioned earlier of just give a big old cough into the mic.
Yeah. He is said to have been quoted as saying, "Spartans did not ask how many are the enemy. Simply, where are they?" And that's there's a couple of famous military quotes like that. It's Chesty Puller, the famous the Marines Marine, was quoted as saying "We're not retreating, we're advancing in another direction." And he said to us upon seeing a flamethrower for the first time, looked at it in great awe and reverence, turns to the guy who was showing it and went, "Okay, where do you attach the bayonet?"
Oh my god!
To a flamethrower. When someone inquired to King Agis how many Spartans there were, he responded, "Enough to keep the bad men away."
I mean...
another one from King Agis, a lot of bangers attributed to King Agis. When he was going about the walls of the Corinthians and observed that they were high and towering and vast in extent, he is said to have proclaimed, "What splendid women's quarters." So just dunking on the guy who had these big towering walls. Aren't the Spartans impressed by my walls? And this is a two-parter because when the guy in charge of that city is said to have tried to enter into a battle of wits with King Agis, responded, "Well, where are Sparta's walls then?" King Agis is said to have pointed to his own men and said, "They are Sparta's walls."
Fucking hell. I mean, yeah, it's both a badass quote and kinda true.
Yep.
Fuck me.
Then we have the younger Agis, so his son, the younger Agis, when Demades said that the jugglers who swallow swords use the Spartan swords because of their shortness, he is said to have retorted, "But all the same Spartans reach their enemies with their swords." So a lot of jokes were made about Spartans fighting with quite short swords. Okay, they don't look, very fat. It's that classic phallic thing, isn't it? You fight with tiny little swords. There's a common saying among Spartans, not attributed to any one individual Spartan, that simply, we fight with short swords so we may get closer to our enemies.
I mean, if you're still getting the swords in them, does it really matter how long they are?
We have here Archidamidas, or Archidamidas. Archidamidas, in answer to a man who condemned Charillus because he was gentle towards all alike, said, "And how could any man be justly commended if he be gentle towards the wicked?" So, treat everyone fairly.
Mm-hmm.
How is it a bad thing to treat everyone with respect?
You would think that that's a pretty simple thing in life, but it's still something we've not really managed to figure out, Karl, unfortunately.
And the Spartans figured it out as well. And then we have here Brasidas. So he does appear in the Assassin's Creed game set in Greece. He's one like,
That'd be
bros.
Odyssey, yeah.
Like he rocks up. Brasidas caught a mouse among some figs, and when he got bitten, let it go. Then, turning to those who were present, he said, "There is nothing so small that it does not save its life, it has the courage to defend itself against those who would lay a hand upon it." That's like a classic tale, isn't it? Like, nothing fights more ferociously than the mouse.
I was going to say, nothing fights more ferociously than the ants at the end of Bug's life against Hopper.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like another common. So again, not a tribute to any one particular Spartan. They had a guy. A thing that Spartans used to do is they used to paint their shields. They used to really like having their shields. They became family heirlooms, and they would decorate them. And there is said to have been one Spartan who painted a mouse onto his. A mouse is not a ferocious creature. So have you ever seen a mouse fight a cat? There's going to be a response. It's fighting something 50 times its size, and it's fighting with all the ferocity you'd expect of a Spartan. What better animal to represent me?
Especially in, the story that 300 is based off, where, in terms of army size, they were essentially a tiny little mouse.
Yep. And then there's another Spartan who was said to have painted a tiny life-size fly on his shield. He was asked by his fellow soldiers, "Why are you painting a fly? Do you not want to be spotted? In the lineup, are you scared? The fly will be the size of a lion when I bear upon my enemies." It's just like one of those things of just do not enter into a battle of wits with a Spartan.
I mean, don't enter into any battle with a Spartan.
Especially not a battle of wits.
Not a battle of swords either.
But we'll move swiftly on. I'm just going to scroll because there's thousands of these.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
And we're only on to the L's. We have here Leonidas. So I believe this is the Leonidas, from legend.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, from the film 300. His wife Gorgo inquired at the time when he was setting forth to Thermopylae to fight the Persians if he had any instructions to give her. He is said to have simply stated, "To marry good men and bear good children."
Fair. They're simple. Well, I mean, simple-minded in one sense, but as you say, still very cultured and intelligent and witty.
Yep. And when someone is said to have mentioned to him, "The barbarians will have arrows that will blot out the sun," he responded, "Won't it be nice then? We'll have shade to fight them." So that, again, based on a real thing he said.
Mm-hmm. That's the one question I've got, though, is how do all these quotes get attributed? They sent, 300 men into battle? Was there a guy at the back just taking quotes down? "Oh yeah, that was a good one, Leonidas."
Well, I wrote an article about this years ago for Today I Found Out, or I think it was Today I Found Out, about why do so many celebrities and influential people have such poignant last words? Who's there writing them down? And it turns out a lot of last words are massaged.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Oscar Wilde is supposed to have said before he passed away, "What dreadful wallpaper." I got one last sassy remark from the famed wit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that's pretty good. It sums up, it's a good summation of his life, his person.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, it's most likely he just said a hurried prayer before they died.
Yeah.
As most people probably do. Because most people's last words are usually, nothing, mumbling under their breath, or, screaming in pain.
Or I should say, a prayer of some kind, whether it be out loud or not. But, yeah, I mean, true. Kings did pay scribes, for sure, but, I want to know about the ones that are, made in battle or pre-battle. Was there just a scribe along at this battle, shitting himself in the back?
It's probably the telephone game of history, where it just gets refined down to be more witty.
Yes, yeah,
I feel it's like something like that. And so what we'll do now is I'm just going to find the sayings of the Spartans, but it's the sayings of the Spartans that are anonymous. So we said a couple of famous ones, but these are just like random Spartan quotes or like, turns of phrase and idioms that Spartans would use.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they'll be quite interesting. So like in that vein, Luke's any favourite idioms or like turns of phrase?
Not off the top of my head, no. Have you got anything to bring up?
I'm a big fan of like spoonerisms and stuff like that. Of like, we'll burn that bridge when we come to it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's the thing.
Then metaphors. Metaphors where you combine two, often humorously, two metaphors.
Okay. So do you know what a spoonerism is? Man, I've heard of spoonerism before.
It's Archibald Spooner, who just like get marble mouth when he gives speeches at Cambridge, I believe it was.
Mm.
And just like they were just weird turns of phrase, like think of like Del Boy, with like Only Fools and Horses.
Mm.
With like Duck a l'Orange and all that stuff. I like Lovely Jubbly.
I saw something recently, and it was like ITV or some shit, and it must have been the fucking slowest news day of like, did you know that a lot of the phrases that you hear on places like It's Only Fools and Horses, like pillock, all of those insults are gonna like be lost to time soon because people don't use them anymore.
Yeah, language evolves.
Yeah. Do you mean like slang changes over time? Oh no. I was like, did you really need to make this a news article, ITV? Like, really?
Yeah. But you know what, Lucas, we'll move swiftly on. You have a beard right now, right?
Of course. I'm not allowed to not have a beard.
Well, here's a quote from a Spartan who had quite a long beard. So a Spartan, being asked why he wore his beard very long, is said to have responded, so that I may see the grey hairs and do nothing unworthy of them. When a speaker extended his remarks at great length and then asked for answers to report to his citizens, a Spartan is said to have responded, report that you found it hard to stop speaking and that we had to listen.
Oh, God.
Basically, Spartans saying this could have been an email.
Yeah.
We've not really changed all that much as a species, have we?
That's rough, though, isn't it? Just getting told to your face, like, oh.
So we have here someone on seeing a painting in which Spartans were depicted as being slain by the Athenians kept repeating, the brave, brave Athenians, to which a Spartan cut in and said, yes, in the picture.
And I guess that goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago of like things being massaged over time and being like quotes being made more witty is like also just I was going to say the opposite of like the paintings and the depictions of like Athenian warriors are probably greatly exaggerated by the time they're like painted into these like great grand pictures and scribed into walls and shit like that. Like
it's like again, take all these with a pinch of salt, but some people are quite witty, and the Spartans did greatly value it. They did, and there are like some very famous historical examples. For example, it was like King Macedonia, Alex of Macedonia, when he was going to invade Sparta. He sent a letter to the king at the time. It's like, hey, would you rather me invade your land as a friend or an enemy? The Spartan king responded, neither. A bit annoyed, responded again, if I came to your lands, I would raze it to the ground, to which the Spartan sent another single word response, if. And that's like a real historical record. That's like, there's evidence that happened. So there's precedent for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So upon seeing young men seated on stools in a privy, said, God forbid that I should ever sit where it is not possible to rise and yield my place to an older man. Because that was something that was quite unusual in ancient Greece, is that Spartans were one of the few peoples who respected the elderly. There's a famous story about like Olympic Games where an old man was looking for a seat and he was being booed and jeered by all the other sections, and then when he got to the Spartan section, every single man stood up and offered him their seat. Because Spartans saw it as an achievement to grow old, which, as a Spartan,
There's not many of you, like, battling your entire life and making it to old age.
And that's the thing, it's like, there's something Kratos mentions, isn't it, when they talk about Valhalla, when he's confused about the concept of Valhalla. Like, who comes here? Those unworthy of... hell. Those, just those unworthy of Valhalla, the sick, the elderly. It's like, it is dishonourable to grow old.
It's like,
what?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, true. I mean, like, I get the idea of it being a disgrace to grow old because it means that you haven't, like, battled hard enough or something, but if you've battled hard enough to make it to old age through all those battles, then you've earned your place.
Spartan.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Spartans once saw, here we go, a fact fiend, legend here, Diogenes the Cynic, holding his arms on a bronze statue in very cold weather, and asked him if he were cold. And when Diogenes said no, the other said, then what great things are you doing then? Just just two people just having a laugh.
Mm-hmm.
A Spartan, having been taken prisoner in a war and put up for sale, when the crier said, I offer a Spartan for sale, the Spartan is said to have punched the guy out and said, no, I'm a prisoner of war.
Oh, shit. Imagine trying to sell a Spartan.
Yeah.
It's like, oh god, that's not going to go well for you. We got anything else for us, Karl?
There's quite a few, I'm just trying to find the ones that are some of them are more just you had to be there, historical edition.
Mm-hmm.
So there's things as well, there's a lot.
Yeah, of course. It's like, when you're saying there's thousands of quotes, it's like, oh god, no.
We have here that when two Spartan brothers were seen quarrelling with one another, they were arrested and then they fined the father for raising sons who would argue.
Oh my god. The fuck? It's like, I don't know many families where that would be applicable of not having any arguments between siblings. Christ.
So you raise shit kids, do better, don't raise shit kids next time.
God.
With here, Spartan, upon being asked, well, what do you know? Responded, how to be free. We have here that there was a Spartan boy said to have been captured as a slave. When his owner bade him to bring him a chamber pot, he would not brook such treatment, saying, I will not be a slave. When the other was insistent, he went up to the roof and said, you will gain much by your bargain, and threw himself down, ending his life. So you can't do it, I quit. The ultimate quit.
Yeah, that is true. It's like, how do you get out doing something? It's like, well, just jump on a sword.
In a clinch, one wrestler, who had the other by the neck, overpowered him with a slight effort and pulled him to the ground. Since the one who was down was at a disadvantage in using his body, he bit the arm that held him. His opponent said, Spartan, you bite like a woman. The Spartan responded, no, like a lion. And again, the Spartan, that's not fighting fair. It worked.
Yeah. Did you stop choking me out? Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck you. It was the famous story of the Olympics where there was I think it's Arikrion, where he was in a wrestling match and someone had him a chokehold. He was losing and he stomped on the ankle of the person on the chokehold, but he snapped the guy's ankle. And when the guy wrenched back in pain, he snapped the guy's neck.
Oh shit!
But the other guy broke his ankle, tapped out. Mm-hmm. When the officials go over to get the guy out, he's dead. And the guy who broke his ankle's like, so do I win? It's like, well, no. In wrestling, it's whoever doesn't... The winner is the person who doesn't give up. He died before he gave up. He did not give up the hardest it's possible to not give up. He wins. But also, we don't know what his opponent was called because losers at the Olympics didn't get mentioned.
Oh, man. I love as well the idea that... Okay, but he's dead. Do I get to progress to the second round? No.
Nope.
Oh man, that's rough. Getting beaten by a literal dead guy.
Yep. And no one knows what his name is.
I mean, I will say, that's... when it's just an Olympic sport, not a fight for your life, breaking someone's ankle before you lost, that's a dick move.
Yeah. A Spartan, upon seeing a man taking up a collection to the gods, responded, I do not think much of gods who are poorer than me. Which is just, when you walk through town, so you got 20p, mate, it's like, no, I don't got anything on me. It's like, again, the Spartans had that shit covered.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
I do not think much of gods who are poorer than me.
That's so fucking rough.
Just those bitch-ass gods got no paper. I'm over here stacking fats. A Spartan gods just stacking mad stacks. Your gods get no paper. They can fuck off.
Oh, man. That's such a good response.
It's just like, we're taking a collection for the gods. It's like, do the gods need my money more than I do? Just looking at some of the shorter ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
A Spartan who was being sold as a slave was asked, "If I buy you, will you be good and helpful?" The Spartan responded, "Yes, if you do not buy me." There's like another one here. It's upon witnessing archers. So one of the few battles that the Spartans ever lost was against the army using archers. Were asked to comment. It's one of the few times where Spartans actively surrendered. Were asked, like, what do you think of the archers then? And said, it'd be a mighty weapon if it only killed the brave.
So, yeah.
But basically saying it's a coward's weapon.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it won.
It won, yeah. Like, that's what, that's there for. Of, like, how are they meant to beat us if they can't reach us in the first place with those little swords?
Yeah, there was a man being punished and kept saying, "I did wrong unwillingly." The Spartan responded, "Then take your punishment unwillingly." When a Spartan was trying to buy some almonds of somewhat the hard sort, selling at double the price of the others, he responded, "Are stones so scarce?" God. Basically just saying, this is shit, sell it for a better price. This is this sucks. Let's have a look. We've got any, just double check if we've got any other ones that are like quite witty and retortful.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Give us your best shot, Karl.
When Demetrius complained that the Spartans only sent one ambassador to greet him, they replied, "Is it not enough? 1-on-1. That's pretty good, right? It's like, I'm a king. I expect more than... You sent one person to greet me. It's like man to man.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? You're not worth... Like, you're a king, but you're not worth more than one of our men.
I mean, that very much goes back into the idea of, like, treating all men equally, right?
Yep. And we have one here. So, some people encountering Spartans on the road told them, "You're in luck, for robbers have just left this place." The Spartans responded, "Egad, no, it is they who are in luck for not encountering us." Try to rob some fucking Spartans, right?
Do you remember that story of the guys who were cross-dressing on, like, a stag do? And they got assaulted in the park, and they were all, like, MMA fighters and stuff, and it's like, yep, the people tried to, like, attack them for being cross-dressers, and it turns out they just beat the crap out of these attackers.
Yep.
Like, you picked the wrong people to pick on today. Imagine just that, but it's Spartans.
Yep. A lame man was going forth to war, and some persons followed him laughing. He turned around and said, "You vile noddles, a man does not need to run away when he fights the enemy, but to stay where he is and hold his ground." So they were making fun of him, like, "You can't run properly." It's like, I'm not going to run. I'm going to stand right here, and the enemy's going to come to me. I'm going to stab him in the fucking face. I don't think there's any. There's a couple that, like, again, I think you just had to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this final story here, which I think this one I mentioned earlier, but here's like the proper recollection of it. So, While the games were being held at Olympia, an old man was desirous of seeing them, but could find no seat. As he went from place to place, he met with insults and jeers, and nobody would make room for him. When he came opposite the Spartans, all boys and many of the men arose and yielded their places, whereupon the assembled multitude of Greeks expressed their approbation of the custom by applause, and commended their action beyond measure. But old man, shaking, his grey-haired and bearded, with tears in his eyes, said, "Alas for the evil days, because all the Greeks know what it is to be right and fair, but the Spartans alone practice it."
I mean, yeah, that's one where, like, just I would have assumed that, like, all of Greece was maybe a bit more nice to their elders, but clearly not.
Yeah.
Most of the Spartans knew what to do.
And that was summed up by a man who visited Sparta, one last one here, who came to Sparta and observed the honour which the young render to the old, saying, "Only in Sparta does it pay to grow old."
I mean, that's the thing, right? Is the classic
this
of
one's
just...
way more badass, Lucas.
Oh, well, I've had kids, I've gotten old, and now,
I found that's way more badass, though.
Oh, okay. I think you might have cut out for a second on my end.
Just a second, yes. Discord like shit in the bed. But we have here, this was actually too badass not to cover. So another man who had sore trouble seeing with eyes was going to war. When someone said to him, "Where are you going in that state? What purpose do you serve?" The Spartan responded, "Even if I accomplish nothing else, I may at least blunt an enemy's sword." Now that is a fucking man, right? That's a man.
I might not be actually that helpful in war, but even if I die, at least I've just blunted someone's sword down a bit.
Yep. It's, you fool, you fell for the classic gambit. You stabbed me, now your sword's blunt, dipshit. What are you gonna do?
Just that pure, like, distraction technique. It's like, I always talk about the distraction medal in Halo back in the day was one of my favourite ones to get, because it's like, well, I'm not very good at the game, but at least my distraction meant that somebody else got the kill.
Yep.
So I'll contribute in my own way.
There's also apparently a Spartan who saw a ghost, and when the ghost appeared, everyone else ran away and he ran at the ghost, and he was reported to have said, "Come back here, you soul that shall die twice." So Spartan's first response to seeing it, that was Kratos. That was Kratos, right? He saw a ghost, it's like, "You bitch ghost, come back here, I'll kill you twice.
I'll get you again. You little shit." It's like, clearly you didn't die hard enough the first time, you've come back for more.
I'll kill you again. You wanna go? You bitch-ass ghost? There we go, yes, that's sayings of the Spartan. So let us know if you have any favourite, sayings, quotes, idioms, any of that good stuff in the comments below.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah.
I thought that'd be a fun one to cover. I did not expect you to do the Assassin's Creed one.
Leaned in a bit more than we thought, yeah.
Yes, dovetails quite nicely.
And I know that we have got written down, like, that we're doing maybe a themed podcast relatively soon, but I'm checking.
The boys, right? That's like a month so.
Was that what it was? Oh, okay, so we haven't decided for sure what we're doing, but we are doing something themed around the boys on, like, the week of June 10th, but that's still a little while away. I remember there was, like, one in my head, but yeah, that's still a little whiles off. But we're not sure if we're going to do, like, some weekends videos on that, or, like, a themed podcast around the boys or something. But, just know that when the new season of the boys is coming up, we will have some stuff prepared and ready for that.
Yes, we will indeed.
But yeah, other than that, at the moment, we are taking it a bit lighter on, like, themed podcasts or anything, but I guess you can go to the Discord and go to the Wiki suggestions if you'd like to suggest any themes for future podcasts going forward.
Yes. We take all suggestions into consideration. That doesn't mean we're going to cover them.
Yeah, we ignore most, but we do read them and take them into consideration. And a couple of them have been added to, like, my list of general ideas and stuff in the past. So yeah,
but most are just like suggestions of, hey, here's a thing that I like, you might like it. And spoilers, if it's not a thing we're familiar with, we're probably not going to cover it. We need to
probably not, yeah,
passingly familiar with the thing to at least, the format of the series does allow us to not be entirely clued up on a subject, but it does help.
Generally speaking, we usually either go for a subject that we're both passingly familiar with at least, or a subject where one person knows quite a lot about the subject, even if the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, mentioning something you've never heard us talk about ever, probably not going to make for the best wiki suggestions. But yeah, you can, of course, join our Discord, our official Discord, link to which you can find in the description of wherever you're consuming this podcast. And yeah, you can go ahead and just let us know what you thought of the podcast. Just join in for general discussion, go and vote for which wiki won this week, and of course, leave some suggestions as well.
Yes.
We thought about a Deadpool Wolverine podcast around when their movie drops. I think we've discussed it, but generally we only consider stuff that's coming up in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll do something around that. We just generally only speak in terms of, like, what's coming out in the next month or something. We don't plan that far ahead, really.
Yeah. It's like, we've always got time.
Mm-hmm. So, like, that's, I believe. Yeah, that's July.
List, right? I'm guessing you've added that one to the list.
No, I was just double checking. I was like, the reason it's not on the list yet is because that's in July. So yeah, we're normally only planning in, like, at most, like, a month ahead, maybe.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm sure we will definitely take that into account, because why would we not? The most hyped like Marvel thing coming up in years. Like, we're probably going to talk about that.
Probably. Spoilers, we're probably going to talk about that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, thank you all for joining us live, and I presume that means, like, now that Karl is stepped back up, even though Discord was being a bit of a distraction for us at times, it wasn't really Karl's new setup's problem or anything, like, just the look of the draw, really, but I presume that means we'll be getting back on top of just doing these live every week as we were.
Yeah.
We're all now set up again, and, you know, I'm sure that it'll all go in. There'll be something to find to distract us or stop it happening at some point, I'm sure. But for now, we're all back on track. But yeah, thank you all for joining and listening, and hope everyone has a lovely week. Thank you all.